Hey there everybody, welcome to another Left Turn Workshop tutorial. Today I'm going to be walking through the process of creating a character in Daz Studio for export to Reallusion's character creator. There we'll be able to create this character that you're looking at on the screen right now. We're going to be able to create this character to use in a game. Now unfortunately, this character is never going to appear in a game actually. Alright, and the reason is that this is making use of some assets that I've got from the battle days, from Nyx, Dark Mist Redux, and Nyx Callista. Sorry, and Nyx Callista from the creator, from the Daz Studio creator, Rhiannon. Unfortunately, Rhiannon has not made those pieces of clothing available under an extended license, and so this is something that we're not actually going to be able to use in a video game. So I'm just doing it for fun. And this is not something that's going to end up being distributed. One thing that I would mention is that if you begin to use the Daz Studio for part of your character pipeline, great resource is actually Renderhub. Okay, I guess it's called Renderhub 2.0 now, but renderhub.com, because almost everything available on the site comes with a very, very relaxed extended license without paying an additional cost like you will see on some of the other shops. So if I go over to, the Rhiannon store here for an extended license for a piece of clothing, you're looking at whatever, $56.85, $74.85. And honestly, what's going to happen with a lot of these, clothing pieces is you'll bring them into Character Creator and you will discover that there are enormously complicated models, just tons and tons of polygons. They're going to have to be reduced to within an inch of their life. I find that over on Renderhub, a lot of this stuff is being designed with games kind of in mind. And while the quality can be a bit mixed, and there's definitely sort of an emphasis on the sexier side of the clothing spectrum. Nonetheless, most of the items here are relatively inexpensive, and they also come with this extended license. And so if you go under permitted uses, you'll see right down here, computer games and software right there. Okay, so you know that this stuff is basically all good to go. And so here, for instance, I don't know, here's a men's fashion thing for Genesis 8 and 8.1, $18. And that $18 is going to get you your game ready clothing. You'll probably still have to do some optimization, of course, but it's a pretty good deal, pretty solid deal, particularly since Reallusion has decided to really turn the screws on developers, and they have recently implemented licensing changes that mean that cloth purchased at the Reallusion store is now about 3 times as expensive as it was back in June, basically. So yeah, a bit of a bummer on that. But let's go ahead, and I'm going to get started in this video. I'm just going to put together the character, maybe make a couple of points about my own workflow and stuff that makes sense to me. All right, so like I said, this is the character we're going to make, and the reason that I love working in Daz Studio is because it's so simple to put together assets that are not 3D, okay? It's very, very easy to create a bunch of 2D assets. And so this can mean, creating the character portraits for a dialogue system, for a JRPG-style thing, which when you're a solo developer, man, you're not going to be animating an entire cutscene every time you want people to talk, man. Maybe you can. God bless you if you can. Good luck with that. But I would say much more frequently you work in sort of the JRPG style. You got some, characters expressing different emotions, different poses, and Daz is a great way to do that. One of the things that you always need to bear in mind when you're working with the sort of Daz and character creator workflow, though, is that you're probably going to want to have an idea beforehand of what assets are going to be available to you inside of Character Creator. Because, for instance, I find that shoes from Daz are, wow, they are ridiculously complex. And very often they don't necessarily pose correctly. And so that can be a bit of a problem. The other thing, of course, is hair. Okay, you've got some lovely hair options in Daz Studio that will look great in a 2D render, But Unreal Engine is going to laugh you right out the door if you even consider trying to run some of this stuff at real time. You know, we're talking about millions of polys, and obviously there are issues involved with sort of the weight maps and things like that. So honestly, I find that hair is not so useful. So what I always want to do is make sure that I've got hair available to me inside of Character Creator that will resemble the hair that I am using or picking out from Daz Studio. Now this is kind of nice because it means that I don't need to buy extended licenses for hair. I mean, I never bother buying an extended license for hair from Daz because I'm never going to use hair in a project. So you can just go ahead and get yourself some cheap hair on sale, you know, get it for a Genesis 2 model or whatever. You'll be able to make it look great, and it will serve the purpose of providing you with 2D assets. And at the same time, it doesn't need to cost you a bundle. Whereas a lot of these clothing assets, particularly, you know, dresses, gloves, pants, shoes, whatever, those you are going to need to splurge for the interactive licenses from Daz. Always good to wait for a sale if possible. Or, as I was suggesting, maybe take a look and see if a site like Renderhub is going to be able to help you out with that stuff, because it's going to make your life a lot less expensive, which is always a good thing. So, all right. So that said, let's head over into Daz. Okay. And I'll work you through kind of my workflow, right? The first thing that I'm always going to try to do is set up the character the way that I want to be able to use the character in a 2D portrait. And so for the games that I'm making, I basically make use of a single character base, and that is the girl, right? The girl is very, very flexible character for Daz. Not only because, you know, the morphs or whatever that are included with the girl, but also because there are a lot of sort of secondary assets that have been produced for manipulating the girl, which are very, very helpful. And so here, if I'm looking at this, I've got my character just popping up here. Sorry for the nudity, everybody. That's the way it goes when you're working with a character like this. At the very beginning. Here there is a set called the Alternate for Girl 8. I'm trying to remember who the developer is. I'm not sure offhand, but basically what we've got here are basically a collection of different faces and morphs and what have you, so that we can go ahead and actually make some changes to the character very easily. So there is like some bonus content here. We've got face shapes, overalls, etc. And that is the thing that I like Alternate for, is basically the skin tones. Okay, this is a great way to get a skin base. It's very easy to match. The skin here in Daz with the skin in Character Creator, where I prefer to use the Skin Gen plugin whenever possible. But there you go. Now, I've also got the Girly Morph Kit, which gives about 200 specialized morphs for the face, in particular for the face, basically, so that we could get things that are looking the way we want them to look. I'm just going to use a quick character preset here for this model. I'm going to use the Toon Vicky model. This obviously is based on sort of the geometry of the Victoria model. But it gives kind of a different look to the girl. It's because the girl, of course, is a very, very iconic, I guess, sort of Daz figure. So you don't necessarily want her to look like every other girl that's ever been made, right? So there we go. We got the girl on, and a couple of the things that I'm always I adjust because, like I said, kind of do an anime style, sort of exaggerated characters. So I'm going to go over into the head. With the head selected, I can now search for eyes, size, make the eyes bigger, right? And do the same thing, go overhead, search for iris size. It's already at 75. It's already at 50. Let's just boost that up to 75. And all right. That's good. It's kind of a model. Now, I do make fighting games, and so I don't want some shrinking violet here, right? We want to make sure that we are accentuating the musculature on the figure, and so in order to do that, another package that I found that's very useful is a sort of musculature morph set, and so I am just going to, I don't know, I guess let me go ahead. I'm going to change this to smooth shaded, so I don't get complaints about what we're looking at here. Just going to boost them all muscle volumes up to around 35, not 35. Okay, and that bulks up, particularly in the arms. The alt muscles give us some different, a lot more definition, particularly in the abdomen and the shoulders. And that looks pretty tough, which is good. That's the look that I'm going for. When you start adding all of this muscle, one thing I like is kind of the Street Fighter look on a character, and so I like to have nice, big, chunky hands and chunky feet as well. So I'm just going to go down to hands, check out the propagating. I want to adjust the hand propagating scale, maybe raise that up to around 35. Okay, and if I look down at the feet, yeah, those are pretty dainty feet. Okay, so I'm going to go maybe up to around 40. Okay, and that looks like it will actually support all of that musculature on the rest of the character, right? So that said, we've now got sort of our, the geometry of the character is kind of blocked out here. As I said, we could go ahead and, using the alternate settings, we can go ahead and add some skin tone. So I'm going to go with a slightly darker character and also make use of the makeup settings. Okay, so we could do the brows with sort of a silvery thing, and I'm going to give darker lips as well. And I will turn on the eye ray as soon as I have put some clothes on our character here. So let me just go down. And as I was saying, here in Daz, I've basically set up two separate libraries. One is for export, one is for no export. So anything that I've got inside of the export folder is stuff that I can bring over into Character Creator because I've got the extended licenses or the interactive licenses for that content. Whereas anything that I have located in my no export folder, that's stuff that I can use for 2D renders. But this is not stuff that I'm going to be exporting normally. And like I said, just for kicks, I am going to be working with some non-export items here. Just to have a little bit of fun here. And we're going to make use of the Rhiannon's Nyx outfits, okay? So I'm going to make use of the Nyx pants, okay? Double click on the pants. They will pop up in a second. I'm going to double click on those boots. So even though I'm going to use very different boots in Character Creator, this will still look pretty cool in a render, and that's enough for me. The last thing I'm going to use are those Dark Mist gloves. Add those right over there. And then I've discovered that Callista actually gives us a kind of a skirt here that actually works very well with the leather pants. And so we're just going to add that right on top there. Okay. And so now if we switch back to an actual render, now that I'm not being demonetized for doing it. All right, there we go. And we've got the girl. I think that skin tone is probably just ever so slightly darker than I was looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and just basically adjust the skin tone on that. So I'm going to go into, no, not down there. Sorry. Into export, shader presets, the alternate, right? And head down to the skin tones. Maybe is it that one? Yeah, there we go. All right, that was more or less what I was going for. All right, cool. And the last thing I'm going to do, like I was saying, is since I want to use this for renders, I do absolutely want hair. Although, as I was saying, I don't want to pay extra money for an extended license for hair that's never going to see the light of day. So I'm going to go over and grab this Xenia hair, okay, because I happen to know that I have cyber hair from Dorothy Jean Thompson. available inside of Character Creator 4. It is relatively low poly. It's made up mostly of hair carves. It is weighted already for physics, so you bring that into Unreal, and all of a sudden you've already got a haircut working the way that it should. So, and it looks more or less like this. So there we go. But I want it to be purple, so I'm just going to go ahead and change the material and scroll down. Make sure that I have the Xenia hair selected. Click on Make It Purple. It should come up purple in just a couple of seconds. Okay, there we go. We got the purple hair. All is looking pretty good. And the last thing I'm going to do is just add some glasses. And this is another area where, you know, I've got glasses available to me inside of Character Creator, so I don't really worry too much about, you know, what type of glasses I'm using. I'm going to add these here onto the model. That's going to parent them directly to the head. I'm not going to be able to actually see them, though, because they are scaled incorrectly for the girl, right? The girl has got non-realistic head proportions. It's a stylized character, and so those eyeglasses are actually buried somewhere inside of her skull. So in order to find them, I'm going to go down to hip, abdomen lower, abdomen upper, chest lower, chest upper, neck lower, neck upper. Finally, we arrive at the head bone and scroll down. There is the eyeglasses female. And you kind of have to do that. You don't really have much of a choice because, well, you can't just click on them because they are invisible, more or less. They are buried inside of her skull. Kind of creepy, but there you go. All right, so now that I've got those selected, I'm going to go into scale, and I am going to scale them up, okay, until they are more or less sort of the correct size. Obviously, they need to be a bit wider, so I'm going to adjust the X scale in order to make them wider. I hate the look because they are too, in my opinion anyway, they are too round. So I'm going to mess around with the Y scale as well to make them slightly less round. I think that looks a bit slicker. And then I'm going to take a look over here from the side. Let's make sure that we're positioning these glasses so that they are, you know, not clipping through the bridge of the nose. Okay, so that said, we got that now. We're in our perspective view. Let's back that out, and we are looking pretty good. Cool. Switch that over to NVIDIA iRay. And as you can see, you've now almost got a character that it can be used for your 2D, for whatever your 2D needs happen to be, whether that is, like I was saying, doing a character portrait or creating a title cards or game over cards. I love using the Daz for doing sort of custom game over screens. There is a problem though, and that also has to do with the eyeglasses, and that is that the lens material, okay, is terrible. So with the eyeglasses selected, I'm going to go down to the Surfaces tab, flick down on the eyeglasses female, and there is the slot for lens. And basically, I don't like the way that this this fake glass material looks. This is actually supposed to be like the clear setting, which is bizarre. So what I'm going to do is make use of a shader that comes packaged with Daz. So I'm going to go into my Daz3D library, which is just sort of the default library that's created when the program installs. I'm going to go down to my shader presets, iRay, Daz Uber, and if I scroll down here, I will eventually find Glass Thin Clear. So with the eyeglasses selected and the lens surface selected, I can double click on that Glass Thin Clear, and now I actually have glasses that look more or less like glasses and not like sunglasses. Right. And so there we go. Now I've got the character. I could do whatever I want with it, do all sorts of posing and things like that. And what I am going to do with this character is actually save this, but I'm going to create that tutorial folder. Let's just create this. And the character's name, I'm calling this character Entropy. Okay. So I got Entropy underscore, and I'm going to call this underscore portrait base. Okay. And the idea is that this is the character I'm going to use when I want to create 2D assets. Okay. In fact, let me go ahead and call that portrait normal. Okay. I'm going to click on save, click on accept. Basta. All right. Very cool. All right, so now what I want to do is basically prepare this character to go out to Unreal. And so the first thing that I'm going to do is get rid of that hair. And once again, get rid of those boots. Just for kicks, I did previously import those boots into a character creator just to see what it would come up with. Because they do look very nicely detailed. And in fact, they are very nicely detailed to the tune of about 500,000 polygons. So not even going to bother. All right, we're going to use some other pair of shoes. Get rid of those dark mist boots. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is go over with the girl selected. I'm going to go down to edit, figure, 0, and I want to zero out the figure pose. Okay, so that we're in a standard Daz Studio pose. You used to need to kind of put this character into the like the CC3 A pose if you wanted to use Transformer inside of Character Creator, but in my experience with Character Creator 4, that's no longer really the issue. It will take a default pose from Daz and interpret it just beautifully. So with that said, I am now going to save this one more time. I'm going to save as scene. Okay, and this scene I'm going to save as entropy base. Okay, because it's basically the base for the Character Creator 4 file that I'm going to create. And that way I have both of them. I can refer back to them and everything is good. So now that I've got that saved, I can go ahead and do my export, because in order to use Transformer in Character Creator 4, I need to have an FBX file. So we're going to go ahead and export. We're going to make sure that we have Autodesk FBX selected. Okay. I'm going to go into my tutorial folder. Let's call this entropy to CC4. Okay. And we'll save that as an FBX. Here are the options that you want to have selected in order to do this. You want figures, props, animations, locks, limits, and morphs. All those should be checked off. Your FBX output should be set to FBX 2012, the binary version, not ASCII. I said ASCII, sorry. We should check off merge clothing into the figure skeleton, allow degraded skinning, allow degraded scaling, and sub-D information. That said, you got all those things checked off. Fantastic. Click on accept, and we are rocking and rolling and doing an export, which I'm going to pause because this can actually take a bit of time. Depending on your system memory and your video RAM, could take a couple of minutes. Mine usually takes about a minute and change. Okay, and there we go, about a minute and 10 seconds, and the export is finished, and with that, we are kind of done with what we are going to be doing over here in Daz for the moment, okay? I am not actually going to close Daz. I'm going to keep it open for the next video in this series when we actually bring this FBX into Character Creator and start making a couple of changes to make this much, much more suitable for use inside of a game. So with that, I'm going to bid you farewell, but not before begging and pleading. Hey, Rhiannon, if you happen to be watching this, please, please, please consider releasing your Nyx line under an extended license, because I would eat that stuff up, man. I love these, the clothing sets that you've made in the Nyx series. Also the Crux series, I gotta say, fantastic. So please, think it over, man. What do you got to lose, really? All right, anyway, I hope you found that helpful. If you did, please click like and subscribe. Otherwise, I will see you all very, very shortly. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.